Hey, Retcon Raider here. Well, here we are, May of 2019. Obviously, I'm still a little behind with these retrospectives, so this month I thought we'd just go ahead and combine two retrospectives into a single video. It's not that I really want to do that, but honestly, these retrospectives were always intended to come out in the first week of each new month. That way, the details of the previous month would still be fresh in my mind. I never really intended to let them slip so late into the month, but it just ended up happening naturally over time. As always, I've got a very limited amount of spare time I can actually dedicate towards making these videos, which eventually just led to the retrospectives getting pushed farther and farther back to make room for other projects. After that, it really just fell into a vicious cycle. Once I made one retrospective, I felt like I needed to wait at least 3 weeks before making another. After all, what's the point in making another channel overview if nothing new has actually happened with the channel? Anyway, this seems like a good opportunity to hit the reset button, so to speak, officially moving the retrospective back up to the front of each month. It does mean that we'll have to combine our March and April overviews into a single video, but hey, that's a small sacrifice to make if it means we can fix the schedule moving forward. That said, let's take a look at the numbers. First up, it looks like our numbers from March were actually almost identical to our numbers from back in February. According to the analytics, we ended up pulling in a net total of 157 new subscribers and 77,000 global views, which is just slightly better than the previous month. Although I did end up meeting my self-imposed quota, putting out a total of 18 new videos throughout the month, none of them really gained any significant traction. The first episode of Varnhold's Lot actually did do pretty well, but the series quickly dropped off with each subsequent episode, so our numbers stayed pretty consistent throughout the rest of the month. Of course, the real wildcards were the new Phoenix Point videos I put out, but those came out so late in the month that they really had more of an impact on April. With that in mind, let's take another look at the numbers. Now, in April, we did significantly better, pulling in a net gain of roughly 420 new subscribers and 122,000 global views. Looking back at the monthly analytics, the vast majority of those numbers were clustered around the release of my first 3 videos about Backer Build 4, with the numbers slowly normalizing during the second half of the month. This is obviously a pretty huge boost, marking our largest single spike in 2019. It's obviously nowhere near the numbers we saw last year, during the hype surrounding the release of Pathfinder Kingmaker, but still, all things considered, that's really not bad. Unsurprisingly, all 4 of my recent Phoenix Point videos ended up dominating my performance charts for the month, both in spite of and because of the recent controversy. A lot of angry people decided to lash out at my recent videos, despite the fact that I'm not actually affiliated with Snapshot Games, but at the same time, it also drew in a lot more attention from people who are genuinely interested in the game, and less so in the controversy surrounding it. Overall, I'd say that the average feedback for those videos was roughly 80% positive, which is well within the range I was expecting. The vast majority of negative comments or downvotes were from people who are just unhappy with the recent controversy, which is not only aimed at the wrong person, but it's also ultimately self-defeating. I've said it before, but YouTube doesn't actually care if you leave a negative vote on a video. Likewise, they don't care if your comment is negative either. They just care that people are interacting with the video, which then adds weight in the YouTube search algorithms, thus making it even more likely that people will end up seeing the video they're lashing out at. Now, that's not to say that I'm trying to trivialize people's concerns. I'm just pointing out that they're a little misguided. A lot of people are justifiably upset, though I do think that some of them are overreacting. Still, at the end of the day, all they're actually doing is making it even easier for people to find out about Phoenix Point. As far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. That's the whole point of these videos. Anyway, moving away from what's admittedly a fairly contentious subject, let's talk about some of my other videos instead. First of all, I obviously wrapped up my Mutant Year Zero series back in mid-April, and overall I'm more or less happy with how it turned out. I do wish it had done better overall, because I really enjoyed playing the game, but I'm at least happy that it had a modest audience from beginning to end. Now, the developers do have an expansion coming out next month, but I'm not actually sure if I'll be doing any videos on it just yet. Instead, I recently held my first content poll over on Patreon, asking my patrons what series they'd like to see me tackle next. The voting was pretty close, but in the end, both Battle Brothers and Phoenix Point ended up coming out on top. Obviously, I was planning on talking about Phoenix Point anyway, so that really hasn't changed. Battle Brothers, on the other hand, is something I'm pretty excited about. It's one of the series that helped me first get the channel off the ground, and ended up running a full 100 episodes before I eventually pulled the plug. Given that the new Warriors of the North DLC comes out next week, this is actually a pretty ideal time to get started on a second season. I'll admit, I've been itching to dive back into Battle Brothers ever since the Beasts and Exploration DLC. Not only is it a game that I love to play, but it's also a great way to get my viewers involved in one of my series. That said, Battle Brothers Season 2 will be starting on May 20th. That should give me just enough time to put together a new waiting list and run a quick poll over on my Patreon to help decide which one of the optional origins we'll be using for our new group of Retcon Raiders. There's a lot of good options on the list, including a peasant militia, actual northern raiders, and even a bloodthirsty cult of Davkul, so I'm really keen on seeing what my patrons end up picking out for me. And of course, you can consider this the official recruitment call for anyone who would like to claim one of the soldiers on my new roster. Just let me know what name you'd like and any preferences you might have for their build or former occupation, and I'll be happy to add you to the list. Just like last time, I'll be doing this on a first-come, first-served basis, though my patrons do get some preferential treatment. Really though, the casualty rate in this game is exceptionally high, especially now that we've got monsters and Vikings to deal with. So I think it's pretty safe to say that everyone will make it onto the roster sooner or later. It's just a matter of being patient until the guy ahead of you gets decapitated, or otherwise forcibly retired. I haven't quite worked out how I want to approach this new series, but I'll probably drop the extended outro and maybe replace it with some minor narrative elements, just to help people get a little more attached to the poor, doomed mercenaries that will be carrying their namesakes. And as always, I'm happy to hear any suggestions that you guys might have regarding this series or any other series you might like to see me tackle in the future. After all, I wouldn't still be doing this if it weren't for people like you. When I first started this channel back in April of 2017, I really didn't think it would end up going anywhere. But here we are, 2 years later, and still going strong. Now, bear with me here because I've got 2 months worth of thank yous to dole out to all the people who have helped make this possible. First up, I'd like to thank all of you, the viewers, who essentially make up the backbone of the channel. Every time you watch, comment, or vote on one of my videos, that helps the channel grow. It may not seem like much on an individual basis, but trust me, it all adds up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have 2.3 million views and just over 11,000 subscribers. I'd also like to thank my patrons, the people who are generous enough to continue providing their financial support. It's thanks to people like them that I can afford to continue spending so much of my time making these videos. All the money they send my way goes towards paying for the games I play, the equipment I use, and the overhead that comes with making these videos. That said, I'd like to give special thanks to my honorary raiders from the month of March: A Normal Joe, Austin Fagan, Benjamin Gray, BioGolem, Brad Quinn, Cecil Kane, James Tremere, Kim S. Jensen, Mark Richards, Maximilian Monk, Mr. Scar Lectures, Pontus Lundberg, and Stepan Lovasic. I'd also like to give special thanks to my honorary raiders from the month of April: A Normal Joe, Austin Fagan, Benjamin Gray, BioGolem, Brad Quinn, Cecil Kane, James Tremere, Kim S. Jensen, Mark Richards, Maximilian Monk, Mozzie Melton, Mr. Scar Lectures, Stepan Lovasic, Size, and The Cursed Typewriter. Then I'd like to give extra special thanks to my veteran raiders for the months of March and April, which for the most part didn't really change. So thanks Adri Raven, Ash, Drakith, Drunken Gunslinger, Excelsior, Forbidden One, Ice Apple 23, Jonathan Tanner, Laura and Mike, Mike Spark, Mildly Nuclear, Sir Skelebit, Valenrook, and Woe77. Oh, and special mention to Revenant and Rowan Church, my Raider Lord and Captain respectively. They've been supporting the channel for over a year now, so I must be doing something right. As always, I'm eternally grateful for their support. Now, if you'd like to help support the channel, then feel free to check out the links to my PayPal and Patreon in the description below. I recently revamped my reward tiers, so now patrons can get access to things like my daily development updates, my super secret content polls, higher placement in my future waiting lists, and even early access to any videos I happen to finish ahead of schedule. Hey, it does happen occasionally. I know, it's still not much, but I am trying to add new incentives on a semi-regular basis. Hey, give me some time here. Lest you forget, I'm still a digital dinosaur. I mean, heck, I just figured out how to get myself on the Twitter. It's going to take me a while before I can wrap my head around things like a dedicated Discord channel, a proper website, or maybe even some sort of future live streams. Anyway, I think that's more than enough begging for one video, so let's go ahead and wrap things up for now. This is Retcon Raider, signing off. Thanks for listening. Oh, and remember, if you need to contact me for any reason, you can do it through the comment section on any of my videos, or you can reach me through my Facebook page, my Twitter feed, my Patreon account, or my official email address. As always, links are in the description.